My name is Shara Sanders. I am the Executive Director of Leadership DeKalb. I am a proud member of the class of 2017. I joined Leadership DeKalb when I was the president-elect of Junior League of DeKalb County. I then joined the Leadership DeKalb board in 2019, and in 2022 was asked to be the interim executive director and was thrilled to become the permanent executive director back in December 2023. And I am thrilled to be joined by Debbie Poe. If you'd like to introduce yourself, she's also on staff here at Leadership DeKalb.
With the fancy background and everything. Hi, everybody. I'm Debbie Poe, the program manager with Leadership DeKalb.
Yeah. Do you
Thank
remember the
for being
neurologist
here.
stuff that you're saying? That you were saying?
I'm sorry?
Therese, do you have a question? I'll go ahead. I'll mute.
She may not have known
Okay,
she
there
was
we go.
not on mute. So welcome to the virtual open house. Some of you actually have already applied. I recognize some names, and some of you are just sort of exploring the process. So wherever you are, we're happy that you're here to learn more, and we look forward to sharing more with you this evening.
I'm also really honored to have our selection committee chair, Geraldine Smith. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you, and good evening, everyone, and welcome. We're really excited that you decided to join us, and hopefully something along the way tonight will convince you to submit your application. And if you have, yay, and you're just here to learn a little bit more. I was part of the class of 2009. Now, you'll hear a lot of people say that they're the best class ever, and trust me, 2009 most certainly was the best class ever. It was a phenomenal experience. And for me, some of the highlights of being part of Leadership DeKalb is that the lifelong networks of friends that you kind of acquire along the way. I still have some very, very close friends that were with me during the class of 2009 that we've stayed in touch. And then you have like a lot of networks. So you is nothing better than picking up the phone and being able to call someone that was in your class. It's like, hey, this is Jared from Leadership DeKalb. And when you say that Leadership DeKalb, there's a certain connection that sparks there. So over the years, when I came back to volunteer as a on the open and closing retreat, that was my foot in the door. And then I joined the board of directors and have been serving not only as the open and closing co-chair, but also as the chair of the selection committee. So I'll come back in a little bit to talk a little bit more about the selection process, but just wanted to introduce myself and welcome you all to Leadership DeKalb.
Thank you. We also have another member of the selection committee, Rashida Hassan, a friend of mine from Junior League of DeKalb County. I'm not sure if she's able to join us on audio and introduce herself, but oh, there you are.
Hello, good afternoon. Oh no, it's now good evening. Sorry. So good evening, everybody. My name is Rashida Hassan. I am class of 2020. And just as Geraldine just said, I have made some really good friends, really lifetime buddies, I would say, through my class of 2020. And so I still keep in contact with a lot of people from the class, and I am excited to be here. And I am always open. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. So.
Thank you very much. And Debbie, I don't know if you want to start our little presentation slideshow. We'll just have a little information that might be easier to see as I'm speaking, but I will be reading for those of you who may be in the car on your phone, not able to see the screen. We'll be going through it as well. Just to give a little bit of background of Leadership DeKalb organization, it was founded in 1986. It was a program of the DeKalb Chamber of Commerce. So it became its own 501c3 back in 1994. Since then, we've had over 1,600 graduates from the program. So from the first class of 1987 to the class of 2024, have over 1,600 alumni, including elected officials. We also have judicial, legal, county commissioner and council members, school board members, people, representatives from all the cities, or most of the cities that are now in DeKalb County, maybe not all of them. We also have business owners and executives, nonprofit and community leaders, and public safety representatives from the fire department, police department, sheriff departments, and marshal's department. So like we said, our mission is to convene and connect leaders, inform them on matters vital to the county, and enhance your leadership skills. So that's what we do through our program days. And I'm not sure, our program day chair, Adria Welcher, she just texted me that she was getting ready to jump on the call, but while we're waiting on her, maybe we can jump over to the selection committee slides. If you're able to do that, Debbie.
It is not being very cooperative now that we're live instead of test, but let's see. Okay.
There we go.
All right. So I will hop in there. I serve as a selection committee, and I have a committee that's made up of other board members as well as those that have come through the class. So there is kind of a combination of committee members. And one of the things that we do, not only for providing these informational sessions, we had an in-person open house, and not now this one, to share a lot of information. And Adria will come when she talks about all the program days that I think is so phenomenal for the program. Is something that is uniquely special for us. Going through the program, you find out so much about DeKalb County that you may not have known that was in your backyard. But we have launched the applications on and they are going to be due on March 17th, so they are live now. So we welcome you to apply. And the selection committee, what we have been doing is making sure that all of our forms and everything you would need is in a nice little package for you, so you have all the information to apply and all of the requirements for the class as far as the timeline, dates, etc. As well as we have scholarship information as well, if that is something that you would need. And so as the applications are coming in, and they are coming in fast and furious, which is a great thing for us and creates a good problem that we want to have, and that is to have a lot of people to apply to show the interest, and we go to have that every year, which is a great thing. So our committee has been meeting, and we will be meeting again after the application deadline to start our selection process. And basically what we look for in our selection are those that have an interest in DeKalb County, to learn about DeKalb County. If you live or work in DeKalb County, it's not a requirement that you have to live in DeKalb County, but certainly there is an interest for DeKalb County. So we know that there's other leadership programs that are out there, but there's none like what we offer here at Leadership DeKalb. So we will, at the end of our process, we'll begin sending out notifications to those applicants that we have selected towards the end of April, probably at the latest early May. But that is our goal, to get that information out. And in the application, we do ask if you would like scholarship information, and we will include that with the notification that you will receive. Yeah, go to the next slide.
Okay. The next slide gives a little more information about some of the statistics from last year's class.
Let me go to that next slide. There we go. Oh, one back, I think. It goes fast and then slow. I think it's one other slide. I'm not sure if it was before or after this one, but just wanted to share some of the demographics around, those that are within our class. We certainly do look for a diversity of those that are in different professions, whether that's in business, legal, government, nonprofit, health, education, public safety. So we have a great diversity of applicants. So we certainly look to try, it may not always be an even balance, but we certainly look for that inclusion of different types of applicants. And a slide move. And then just for the demographics of the class, those are somebody's playing with the slide.
All right, the slides keep jumping back and forth. Sorry about
It
that.
has a mind of its own, unfortunately.
It's okay. But nonetheless, they live in different areas around the DeKalb area. And then this is also just to kind of give you just a little statistic of this current class that's in session now of those demographics. We have 55 members, and that was from a selection of 96 applications. And so they made our job really hard, but we got it done. And we were able to award 9 partial scholarships. We do have a partial scholarships that we offer. And then some of the makeup, 31 of those selected identify as women and 24 identify as men. So we, as you can see in the other, I won't go through each bullet, but as you see that we do try to make sure that there's a diversity within our selection process in the demographics. And obviously that's made up of those that actually apply. So just wanted to share a little bit of that. And so from that, I'll hand it back over to Shara, or if we're going to my buddy Adria that has joined us.
We're lucky to have a couple more alumni. Adria Welcher, our program day chair, is here. And I believe Brandon McMurray, who is class of 24, who's also on the selection committee, has been able to join us, and we'll probably come to him a little bit. But Adria, if you'd like to take it away.
So good evening, everyone. As you all know, living in Metro Atlanta, the best planned travels often. I don't even know why we were so delayed today. I kept waiting for something and never saw it. But good evening. I am Adria Welcher, a very proud member of the best class ever, class of 2021. And I just want to pause and want you to reflect on what was going on in 2021. So we're also the most resilient class ever because we were the pandemic class. Most of our Leadership DeKalb experience was looking at little boxes just like these for hours, very long days. So we are resilient in that regard. And the fact that so many of us are still engaged demonstrates how wonderful this program is. So should I let Brandon introduce himself now, or did you want me to go ahead and begin talking about program days?
You can go ahead, and we'll come back to Brandon in a little bit with some other.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Well, I think I got something for Brandon to always add to my program days report. So Brandon, get ready. So as you all are aware, one of the ways that the program is structured is that 10 months out of the year, you will have a Leadership DeKalb activity generally, right? So maybe we might take December off for the holidays and that sort of thing, but plan for 10 months. And what that means is each of those months, there will be some component of Leadership DeKalb. As you see on the slide for the class of 2025, orientation starts early, right? So you're accepted into the program, you are funding your role in the program, and then we get started. And the way that orientation works is that generally we tell you all that you need to know on day one, right? It's sort of like that poem, Everything I Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. So we start you off with all the tools that you need to be successful. Then after we've sort of drilled all the things into you, right? And, I like to say that I come in with the whip, talking about attendance and all that sort of thing, which I don't carry a whip at all. Don't want to frighten anyone, right? But the point is we want you to take this seriously and to be prepared to go ahead and build your calendars around being a fully engaged participant in Leadership DeKalb. So with that being said, we roll into our opening retreat, which is an overnight retreat. Now, for the upcoming class of 2026, we're looking to return to some of our old roots where we actually retreat, where we get away from Metro Atlanta and go to a lodge or someplace far away, and we have no one to depend on except for one another. And we look forward to lots of wonderful bonding activities and experiences as we get to know each other, some things about each other, one another's strengths, personality, leadership styles, all these sorts of things that will equip us to move forward throughout the rest of the program year. So after the opening retreat, we kind of hit hard starting in August. And the way that the program days are structured is that they're usually held on Thursdays, right? So after we make it through orientation and opening retreat, plan for every month, with the exception of December, to have a full day Thursday. When I say full days, we're talking about 8:30 to 5:30. So you'll need to make arrangements with your employer if that is going to be a concern, that on these days I'll be participating with Leadership DeKalb. Because again, our goal is to have you as fully committed and invested as possible, because the more that you put in, the more you'll get out. And then the more that our county is benefited by your participation in this program. So the list of days that you see on the screen, and you see, I'm pausing before closing retreat, but if you just look at Integrity and Ethics Day all the way through Economic Development Day, these are our current day titles. And as you see, they are full of all sorts of things. And what I love most about these program days is that they're focused on DeKalb County. So I myself am a DeKalb County resident for 22 years. I don't know how that's possible. I must have moved here when I was 3 because I'm only 25. So at 3 years old, no, I'm joking. So I've been a DeKalb County resident for 22 years, but I still learned so much about the county when I participated in these various program days. So we start off with Integrity and Ethics Day. This is the way, again, the program is structured this year. There's no guarantee it won't be structured this way next year. So we're looking at some process improvement. You'll see some of our program day names we may need to change just because of the way that things are in the world. So I'm going to walk through sort of this year's programs, and so you get an idea for what we're looking to do. Integrity and Ethics Day, when we're talking about leadership, that's day one, right? We have to start off knowing who we are. What are our core values? How do we move? There are going to be sticky situations. There are going to be murky spaces. How do we operate in a way that is that demonstrates our integrity and reflects our ethics? So we have some pretty tough discussions on this day. You may be faced with a situation that is really, really sticky. How do you resolve it? We've had the good fortune of having leaders in our county come and share what happened when they were faced with an ethical situation that may have been made quite public. And how they resolved, how they worked through it, how they may have made a poor decision, and how they bounced back from making that poor decision, because that's all a part of leadership. So we're not naive in this program to think that leaders, with the exception of myself, of course, are perfect and flawless. I'm joking, you all. You'll get to know me. I'm just kind of silly, right? But we do understand that leadership can be difficult. It can be challenging. So we start off with integrity and ethics, right? And then we move to what is currently called Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Day. And this is where we look at the richness of DeKalb County and all that we have to offer and all of who we are. So this is not just about race or gender or sexuality or locale. It's about everything, all the diversity of who we are. So this is a day's title that we're looking to change. We don't want any, what are the young people? I'm a professor by trade. I didn't really introduce myself. You'll figure it out as I go through the days. So like my students say, we don't want any smoke, right? So we want to be sure to look at that day so that we call it appropriately what it is. But for us, on the planning team, on the program team, this is our opportunity to see and understand the richness of DeKalb County and the people who are here, right? So that's our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Day. We've done all sorts of things. We've partnered with the National Museum for, nope, I'm about to say the one in DC. We have partnered with the
National Center for Civil and Human
Thank
Rights.
you. I was like, it's not NM, the National Center for Civil and Human Rights. And we've done programs there. We have had speakers to come in and sort of work with all of us on our own understanding of diversity and our implicit biases and all sorts of things. So there are lots of different ways that we've approached this. And so just be prepared that for the class of 26, we'll have some new approaches, nuanced approaches, to still engage, again, the richness of our county. And that's how we see it. It's a value added. Then we move into History, Arts, and Culture Day. And this is a day that I learned so much about DeKalb County. And in the years since my class, we've gone all the way from Arabia Mountain and understanding the history and strength of, I feel like I keep freezing. Am I freezing on you all? No, I'm good. Okay. The richness of the history of enslaved Africans on the Arabia Mountain Inn, all the way up to the Beaufort Highway corridor, and how that has, so that's a Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Day, but it's also a History, Arts, and Culture Day, right? To look at just the diversity of arts, the history of art and culture that we have in this county. And I was so proud after these 2 days in particular to be a resident of this very rich space. You know, so often we hear about Gwinnett being diverse and having all this history and art, and of course, Fulton County, but DeKalb County is right in there. And so it's so important for us as leaders to understand the proverbial soil upon which we stand, if you will, right? The historical context of what we have in this space. Then we move into the nitty gritty of how the sausage is made, right? We go to Government Day. And with Government Day, we literally go to the Gold Dome and learn who our DeKalb County voices are, advocating for our needs, our issues, our concerns on the, I want to say on the hill, but on the Gold Dome, right downtown, on the Capitol, the state capitol. And this is always a fun time. I shared with our last open house that I remember Billy Mitchell talking about gambling when that was like the issue and the state was considering gambling. And he talked about what it would mean for DeKalb County. And so I'm also a pastor's wife. And so, I'm clutching my pearls whenever anybody talks about gambling, but hearing how we could use it in a real beneficial way for the county helped to shift my perspective. And again, as a leader, as a voice of those who may or may not have a voice, who may or may not be disenfranchised, it's always very important to understand the fullness of these conversations and these concerns. So Government Day happens. And then this year, right after Government Day, we go into Justice Day. And Justice Day is exactly as it sounds. We understand how we meet justice in DeKalb County. Again, mine was virtual, but classes have had the opportunity to go to the DeKalb County jail and literally tour those spaces, feel the climate, smell the smells, right? Be in the space, see what's on the wall so that you have just a very clear understanding of what justice looks like in our county. This is where I'm going to call on Brandon at the end. We're also able to do ride-alongs here, right? Where you can get a firsthand experience of a day in the life of our public safety officials, right? Of our police officers, of our fire department, like all the people who keep us safe. To spend time with them in quite an intimate way, again, changes your perspective, right? So whereas you may have been critical, now you have a better understanding and you're like, oh, and as Brandon will share, now these people become your friends. They're a part of your community as opposed to, again, as young people say, the ops, right? So then after Government Day and Justice Day, we move into Education Day. And again, DeKalb County has such an amazing educational background. First of all, we have two K through 12 school systems in the county, right? So we have Decatur City Schools as well as DeKalb County Schools. We're able to engage both of those. We're talking about our preschool programs, our PK programs, our pre-K, programs, all the way through higher education in DeKalb County. Talking about school choice, what is a charter program? Like these are all different approaches that we've taken to ensure that you all understand Education Day. Now, for me, this is sort of where I entered Leadership DeKalb because I'm a mom of four. And all four of my kids have been a part of the DeKalb County school system. So this was the day that I knew. So after I finished my course, I went ahead and volunteered for the Education Day Committee. Now, it looks like I was also volunteered to be on the board. But I did volunteer. I was voluntold to be on the board, but I volunteered for education because that was something that I knew well. I felt it personally. It impacted me. So as you're listening to these days and move through this process, think about the area that pulls you, that moves you, right? Which one of these pieces do you think you could be a contributing member of, both as a participant of the class and moving forward, planning for future classes? We also talk about Health Day, which is critically important. The health of a county predicts and determines where that county is headed. And so understanding how we engage health, how we address access, how we address equity, all those sorts of things. What are some of our hot button issues? How do we fund health? Like what does that mean? How does it matter? All of these topics are covered in Health Day. Economic Development Day, a shout out to our board chair, Dorian DeBar, and Decide DeKalb, who has led a very powerful Economic Development Day, where we truly try to understand where the money resides. I know I'm doing all these little quips today from all these social media things, so y'all just work with me. I'm just getting home from work, so I'm still in the college space, right? But this is where we understand where money goes. How is money funneled? How does it move? How does it shape the county? How does it shape opportunities or lack of opportunities for some people? So really understanding how the money flows is what we do on Economic Development Day. And it's been a fantastic day because, again, we're able to walk away from that with some very sort of tangible understandings of how the county functions, okay? Now, again, I do want to say there are two components that I want to highlight. I've already referenced the police or fire ride along, and we'll let Brandon speak to that as he introduces himself. So thank you, Brandon. I'll hand the mic to you when I finish this piece. But also, there's a small group component to our program days, and it's in a nuanced state right now. So for several years, we had community service projects where we would partner with a nonprofit in DeKalb County and sort of serve in a consulting role, right? Where we would address a concern that they had. For example, mine was with the museum school, and we looked at their population was changing. All of the parents that were a part of the chartering and founding of the school, kids, we don't age, children age. So the kids were growing out of the school. And so the school was a little concerned about what do we do? Like, how do we engage these new parents? How do we make sense of these new parents? And so this team that Leadership DeKalb put together gave some very strong recommendations about how the museum school could continue to thrive. And they are, so hopefully they took some of our recommendations. But for several reasons, we're taking a different approach to how we do our small group interactions. So for example, this year's class did a poll of some of the hot button issues, and they walked away with 7 big, gnarly issues that don't have an easy resolution. But what we're asking of them is to chart the history of these resolutions in DeKalb County, right? How have we addressed these concerns? Whose voices matter? Who are our leaders that are giving us the input in terms of what's important, what's not important? And where do we go moving forward with these topics? And so as we move to the class of 2026, there will be a small group component. We can't tell you exactly what it's going to be, but it will be something that informs your understanding of leadership and how leadership in DeKalb County specifically is critically important. And we need you to be fully aware as we move forward. So that's a sampling of our program days. I would love to hand the mic to my good friend Brandon to talk about himself and his police ride along. Thank you, Brandon.
No problem. Good evening, everybody. Excuse my attire. I just kind of left the gym. But I am from the class of 24. We have about 3 different name titles. We're, of course, the best class ever, the most oppressive class ever, and we're charged first class as executive director. So we always keep those 3 titles close to the heart. So ride-alongs. Ride-alongs. Let me rephrase. All right. The best thing to do about ride-alongs is to do it in your community, whether you work or live. The reason behind that is because you get to know what's actually happening in your backyard. I am a son of a fireman. I've been riding in the fire truck all my life, so I went the police route, and I chose South Precinct. I live in the South Precinct area. It was very eye-opening. There were times where, you call the police and you be like, "What's taking them so long? Why are they taking so long just to respond to a car accident? Why is it taking so long to respond to an actual emergency?" What I've learned in my ride along and sitting shotgun with the officer I was riding with, how many calls that came in every hour and what that dispatch made priority. So there was a break-in happening at the same time there was a car accident. So they sent everybody to the break-in. Then we finally got to the car accident probably mid-shift, where these people been sitting on the side of the road for maybe about a couple of hours. So now I understand when you call 911, what happens, and especially know what's in my what's happening in my community. I still see the officer I ride along with every now and then, and so still seeing him and able to have a conversation and able to, even the other officers that I saw that day, just having that conversation with them and just that support from either side is helpful. So whatever ride along you do, whether it's fire or police, do it in a community where you either work or you live and you're greatly affected by it. That's the only advice I can give you for that piece. And I'm gonna touch on small groups for a second. Small groups, we were the last class I think that did a CSP. This new class is the current class, the first one to do small groups. But your small group is essential for you actually somewhat getting through Leadership DeKalb as a whole. Building those connections, building those friendships and everything are one of the most important things that you're going to take away from this class. My group, we have 2 chats. We have a chat with all 50 of us that we still talk in every day. Surprisingly, it's still shocking how often we talk. But also my group of 7 that I was in, my small group, we talk at least once a week. We actually had somebody who recently got promoted. So we're getting together to to do drinks and different things of that nature. But that small group is what's essential and what's going to get you through the program. Because even when days where people were missing, we were like, hey, where you at? Why you missing this day? Type thing. So you want to get in with your small group first. I will recommend before getting to the work, the one thing our group did is we just did a team building. We went out to the arcade. That's the first thing we did before we started diving into the work, because that allowed us to understand how everybody kind of worked together and kind of get to know the personalities. So when it was time to get into the work, it was easier in the sense of getting to the goal and the mission of whatever your project may be. So that's all I got.
Well, thank you, Brandon and Adria. We really appreciate all the insight. Want to just take a pause there to see if anybody had questions about any of the selection committee process or the program days or anything like that. You're welcome to come off mute or put it in the chat. We can answer any questions you may have at this time. But if you don't, we will continue moving along. Because next up, one of the things after you graduate, and we've kind of touched on this a little bit, but after graduating from Leadership DeKalb, a lot of people ask me, okay, what now? What's next? We do have a pretty robust alumni engagement committee that since the pandemic, like we've referenced before, Rashida's class of 2020, they shut down. They were the pandemic class that shut down in March of 2020. And then virtual class of 2021 was all virtual. Class of 2022 was hybrid. And so class of 23 was the first one we were able to get back in person for all the program days, bring back the opening and closing retreats, and then starting to bring back some of the social events and other in-person things. And that's where our alumni engagement committee came into play. So we do have opportunities to learn as alumni, helping out with program day committees. Each of these committees is put on by alumni with chairs and volunteers. We also have committees like this, a selection committee, alumni engagement, fundraising, finance, program days. All those committees our alumni can participate in. We've had some trainings that we've been able to do, such as nonprofit board skills, inclusive leadership, things on artificial intelligence, public safety, voter education. We were also really lucky last year to partner with several community partners on CEO candidate forums and District 3 and District 7 commissioner forums. So that was one way we were able to connect with partners in the community. We've had, we brought back last year for the first time in a long time, our annual dinner. We did that at Emory Conference Center. We've had a holiday soiree. I think we've done 3 now, and we're looking to do a spring derby party coming up here in May. So we do have opportunities to connect. We've started kind of do some feedback from our alumni and class, more service projects. A lot of leaders, we like to lead by service. And so we've implemented a Thanksgiving food distribution. We partner with DeKalb County, also a holiday toy drive, a Martin Luther King Day service project. We partner with Decatur Rotary on that. And we have plans in the spring when it finally warms up, because every single one of those, it was freezing or below for Thanksgiving, holiday toy drive, and MLK Day. Having a Habitat for Humanity project coming up in the spring.
Yeah.
So we're really happy to be able to kind of bring all those things back in person and expanding on those opportunities. Was going to also speak to some of the dates, as we mentioned on the program days. They are on our website right now with the application, the program day schedule. As Adria mentioned, we are working on changing our opening retreat to off-campus. And as we're working to get those details together, we may have to change some of the dates based on the availability, but we'll keep you all posted. We do look at all the calendars, DeKalb Public Schools, City of Decatur Schools, and City of Atlanta Schools. We also look at religious holidays. We really try our best not to have our program days and opening or closing retreat impact any of those. And then I think other than that, we may actually just touching on, a couple of things. I don't know if any of our alumni on the call would want to share kind of their, why they joined Leadership DeKalb, or, what they brought away. We've mentioned some of the friendship and relationships and connections, but if there's anything else anybody would like to share about why they joined or what they took away from Leadership DeKalb.
Add on to mine, one of the things that I really liked about Leadership DeKalb is every month it was such a different format and a different learning. I went on a police ride as well. And I remember getting in the car and I absolutely got in the front. I wasn't sitting in the back. I don't need that kind of experience. I ain't done that and I don't need that kind of experience. But it was a great experience just to learn and see things that you would not have otherwise have seen or being exposed to for history, diversity, and different areas. And as far as some of the dates on the calendar, when you see, if you have not already gone on and looked at the application, one of the things, the first thing that I did was marked off that whole year, and sometimes you do have development days, and sometimes your employer may sponsor you. Mine did back in 2009. So, and it certainly is an investment in your learning, but you're not going to want to miss any of the days. And that was one of the great things. Each month we look forward to not only the program day, but also the small groups and the projects. And, and again, some of them I am still, in very close connection with, and we talk on a regular basis. But for me, it's just the experience. Every single month is something new, is something different. And just walking away with the great networks, and not only just from your class, but others in other classes as well, that may proclaim to be the best class ever because they, took that from us. But everybody has their own experience, as I'm pretty sure they felt that was the best time. And for me, it certainly was a lot of differences in there. And one of the things I'll touch on with as a co-chair for the open and closing retreat, at the opening retreat, one of the things that we try to do is everybody's new. And so we do try to have things that you're getting to know each other. This current class, we had some walkout music. So that was their introduction. They came out and introduced themselves. So we do make it fun as you kind of get to know just not the groups that you'll be put in, but everybody. And we try to create opportunities for you get to know everybody within the class. So we do try to make it very interactive. We make it fun. So you definitely learn. So you learn, have fun, and it's very, very informational. So again, you get out of it what you put into it, but we certainly we spread the feast for you, so that you will come and partake in it. So we hope that you do consider to come on, Jonas. So my Brand is on my selection committee, and he is phenomenal, and we certainly look forward to seeing your applications. And Rashida's on the committee too, and she brings up how I saw you looking. Yes, absolutely, she's on the committee as well. And I'm very grateful. I'm looking for anybody else on the committee, but thank you so much. They are phenomenal. And, give us a hard decision to try to make our selections, but we have some coming in, so we certainly welcome you.
Rashida or Brandon, do you want to share anything about your Leadership DeKalb experience, or?
I can.
Rashida could go first.
Okay, yeah, so I will. And so just like Sharon mentioned, that my Leadership DeKalb experience unfortunately ended once COVID started. And so our closing retreat was done on Zoom. And so we had been teased all year with in-person events. The opening retreat was fabulous. And then we had to end it with the Zoom, which was really disheartening. But the reason why I wanted to say was the reason why I even decided to join is because I have been a member, a resident of DeKalb County for some time. I stopped counting. I know it's been at least 17 years, but who's counting, right? But I've been a member for a resident that long. And so I have joined and been a board member of other nonprofit organizations here within the county. And what I found out about Leadership DeKalb is that it really ties in all the different pieces. Like Adria just went through all of those different program days. Where can you get a program? Where can you join an organization that will go through and take the time to put detailed information about each sector within the county. I mean, it was wide opening for me. I learned so much. He talked about the drive along. So I did the firefighter. My cousin is a firefighter in DC. And so I said, I want to drive along with the firefighter. And, like Brandon said, do it in your neighborhood, in your area. So I had no idea. I was ashamed to find out that the fire station was like around the corner from my house. And then finding out about, they have to split the cost of utilities, or they have to split the cost of uh, internet and TV, and and I was like, what? You got that? You have to pay that out of your but you have to stay here 24 hours. But yeah, they have to buy their own toilet paper and those type of things. So I started making a note like, okay, well, every holiday I'll make sure to do like a gift basket or something, because I didn't realize that that was something that they were supporting on their own, but yet and still they're doing these 24-hour shifts to make sure that we're safe and we're secure, And then another thing, that I found out that was really interesting is that 9 times out of the 10, actually, I was there all day. We had no fire calls. It was people that wanted to get picked up to go to the hospital or doctor's office. We went to like the senior home because the senior home didn't have enough staff. Then they would call the fire to go and administrate stuff. So it was totally wide opening, and just a great experience that I don't think you can get anywhere else. And especially if you're vested in the county, this is very important for you to go through this program and understand how all of this stuff is basically looking underneath the hood and seeing what's going on. So I encourage you all to apply, and I'll pass it over to Brandon.
I don't think I really have much to add after that. I lived in DeKalb County. I was born in DeKalb County. I was born at the time it was DeKalb Medical, and I think now it's Emory. But I was born in DeKalb, lived in DeKalb, went to DeKalb schools. I actually did youth leadership DeKalb. I don't know if Shar know that. I did youth leadership DeKalb in like 2009, I think.
I did not know that.
But DeKalb is home, and who's going to take care of home better than somebody who's been here? That's the reason I joined. That's the reason why it was important for me to learn about the different days and different things that's going on within our community. Just because I don't see myself really moving from DeKalb. My whole family lives in walking distance, which is kind of sad at sometimes. But we all live in walking distance. It could be annoying at times, but it has its benefits right now. But we live in walking distance. We always have lived in walking distance. And like I said, my dad has served in this community for 23 years in the fire department. My aunt and different people have done different things in DeKalb. So I've always been DeKalb everything. It's kind of just in my blood. So that's why I joined Leadership DeKalb. That's why it's still something that is near and dear, just because of it's home. And we got to take care of home.
Well said. And I think a good place to kind of start wrapping up, just some of the reasons about, yes, learning from county leaders and experts and on all these program days is just something that we can offer. Hearing new perspectives from your class members and from people in the community, have an opportunity to enhance your leadership skills. We do a DISC profile. We put one of the reasons for the small groups is to kind of be able to practice leadership skills in that way. We also offer a lot of opportunities in networking, connecting, lifelong friendships, and also serving. Like we said, we have a lot of people who are very involved in public service and civic engagement, community service. A lot of people who decide to run for office either before or after Leadership DeKalb. We said last year's ballot, I think the June 1st ballot last year, 30 out of the, at least, gosh, I think it was like 90% of the people.
It was like 90% of the ballot, exactly, was Leadership DeKalb. And Shara had mentioned earlier about we were fortunate enough to do some commissioner forums, so District 3 and District 7. And I think, is it every single commissioner right now in DeKalb County is a Leadership DeKalb alumni?
Well,
Except
the
for
ones who were recently elected.
Yeah.
CEO,
s-
Catherine Johnson, and then the new commissioners.
Yeah,
So I believe
so it's wonderful. And going back to some of the, when you were talking about connecting and networking and community, over the weekend, well, again, it's cold, so you know we had a volunteer opportunity. But Shara and several Leadership DeKalb alumni just did a love run, and we had a Leadership DeKalb team. So it's just so lovely to see, whether it's current class members, alumni from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, still coming together for different things. So that was just wonderful to see over the weekend.
Thank you. Yes, I forgot about that. That was cold. And so I think, Destorian, I don't know if you had your hand raised. I saw it go up, but it may have just been waving. But if you had a question, you're welcome to come on. And if anybody else has any questions as we wrap up, we are here to serve and help.
No, I didn't have a question. I was just applauding what Brandon was saying. I totally
applauding.
agree.
Okay.
Totally agree.
Okay. All right, unless anybody else has any closing comments or anything, I think we can wrap up, and we appreciate your time. We will put this recording on our YouTube channel. So our 30-something subscribers, we're always looking for more. And if you have any questions as you're going through the application process, please feel free to reach out to Debbie or me, our other selection committee members, and we are happy to assist and with any questions. Oh, good. Well, I'm glad we're glad you joined us. So thank you very much, and enjoy I believe the 77-degree weather that we'll have tomorrow. And we'll see y'all soon.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for being
all.
here,
Yes.
everybody.
Thank you. Good night,
I'm
everyone.
excited. Good night.
We're excited to have you.
Thank you.
Making sure I got all